Ibrahim, such a pleasure to interview you in the place where you're making all these dreams come true, Somabay. We talked about it before, but now we're in the heart of the dream.
Thank you. I'm very excited. You had that first interview, and now to see it all come to life.
It's amazing. But today I also wanted to get into your journey into creating Somabay.
First of all, I started out as a construction engineer. I did that from 94 all the way to '08. I did that for many years, and it was abroad, a long time in the UK, and then for Gulf. And then I shifted to real estate in '08. It was by pure coincidence that I decided I wanted to make a move to Egypt. And the company I was working for wasn't coming back to Egypt. I was working for Bechtel. It's an American construction company at the time, and I joined Dubai World.
Oh, wow.
They were setting up, they wanted to do an Africa office in Cairo. So I joined, and then after I joined by a few months, the world financial crisis, and I lost my job. So that was my intro into the real estate world, which was weird.
You stuck to it.
But I stuck to my guns. I spent with them a year doing their cleanup. And then I joined Medinat Nasr, which is now Medinat Masr. At the time, Bilton had acquired them, and they were starting by the whole privatization and the development of Medinat Nasr at the time. And I did that for 4 years. And then I got the opportunity to come to Somabay in 2012.
So tell us about that move. Did you ever expect it would evolve into the role and the scope that you have today with Somabay and how much it's grown?
First, no. When I joined in 2012, I was a director of development. At the time, I thought it was going to be a new adventure. I've always dreamt of working on the development of a town, something like Guna, or it's always been a passion. I've always heard of Soma from my mother because she always loved the spa here.
Oh, from before. Okay.
And so I heard about the destination. And during my construction days, I was working on Port Ghalib down south. I visited Soma in '01, and I was quite impressed with the facilities. So when the opportunity came about, I was like, okay. I said, let's give it a shot. But then I joined, and at the time, it wasn't going very smoothly. So I actually quit after a year. I moved to Dubai. I worked on the expo, and I did that for a year. And then they called me back to come and take charge of the company. So November 2014 was when I took my current position.
So now it's been over 10 years.
Yeah.
Under your leadership, Somabay has really evolved. So tell us about what your vision was when you started and how much you've been able to implement so far.
Yeah, it was like a blank canvas, right? And Somabay was a destination that sort of got put on hold in '08. So it was frozen time. There wasn't any growth or development. And then when I joined, I could see how this could evolve. I saw what had happened in the likes of Guna and Sahl Hashish and other developments. And I thought, Somabay, this is a town with a much better location because it's got this fantastic peninsula, beach, all those natural attributes that are not in any other location. And I could really visualize it. I took the challenge. I look back now at what it was and how I was pushing it, talking to people about it. Yalla, come to Soma. You need to think about investing there. And I look at the old pictures. Most people would have thought I was ridiculous. Did not think it was going to take that long. But so many things happened. The 2016 crisis, COVID. It's been a very difficult few years.
Yes.
Lots of starts and stops. And that's why it probably took a bit of time. But finally, it's happened.
So when did you start to build more of the residential homes and making this more of a destination?
When I first joined in 2012, I remember there were 12 villas.
That's it.
And 22 apartments.
Wow.
That was it. We were talking about having 10,000.
Okay.
That's our license. And so it was a far-fetched dream. And I thought, okay, how do we make that happen? We started thinking about, we need an identity. And how do we do that? Let's attract people with design. So we went on a quest on finding some great architects who were going to do a lot of the creative work to build this different identity for Soma, something that stands out, build very interesting homes that would attract a younger generation that had missed out on the Guna run.
Yeah.
When Guna was happening in the noughts, new generation came in the 10s and early 20s, and Guna became out of reach.
Yeah.
It was this younger crowd, let's create a destination that works for them. So that's sort of how it kicked in.
So the homes here are designed more that like younger, modern look and feel?
The old architectural theme of the Red Sea used to be domes and vaults. And it was done like that because it was in line with the climate, the heat, etc. We tried to break that mold. We brought on board Hassan Abu Saada, who's a New York-based Egyptian architect. We got Raif Fahmi, who's got very interesting, aggressive, modern lines of architecture. We worked with them on coming up with our very early concepts. And we started testing those with people, encouraging people to come and check out those new designs. And the idea was that it's not like anything people would have bought elsewhere. We were saying, don't buy big homes. The difference here is you can buy a small home for your family, and then you have the backbone of the hotels. So,
Yeah.
you know, people like the North Coast, they go and they buy 5, 6 bedroom homes so they can host friends and family. You don't need to do all of that investment here in the Red Sea because the abundance of hotel facilities, which did not exist in the North
Yeah.
Coast at the time. And so that mentality made it more reachable, achievable, more compact homes, but better designed, basically.
Yes, and you have what I feel like one of your advantages is you have more beachfront land to offer for the different developments and the different homes. And
The name sort of does us a bit of an injustice because it's Somabay, when actually it's the Peninsula. But we couldn't use that naturally because there's a hotel brand that's called the Peninsula. But we are the only developed peninsula in Egypt.
yeah,
The others are national parks. We are surrounded by the sea from all directions. We are connected by a 7-kilometer land bridge that's only 1.5 kilometers wide. Hence our backdrop. You're looking back onto mainland Egypt, right? 7 kilometers offshore. And that creates this 11-kilometer coast. So we have a 10 million square meter plot with 11 kilometers. Now, to give you a point of reference, Alexandria is 14 kilometers. That's a huge coastline, and it's varied. There's the bay side where the Somabay name comes from because the area is called Abu Soma. And then there's the open sea side, which is very rugged and it's got beautiful natural coves. I'd call it Santorini topography. So it's very exciting and it's got different microclimates. We worked on establishing the master plan here as a series of villages. And that's why one of the unique things about Somabay is you do not have a consistent cookie cutter design that works everywhere.
yes.
I remember the master planners at the time, they're called Gensler from the UK, and they saw it as a string of pearls. Hence, we have those 13, 14 villages around our coastline, which we develop and move on, and then they start to grow and they all merge together to establish Soma.
And how much of the development has taken place and what's the end goal for the rest?
Currently, we've sold around 3,500 homes. A lot has happened on that front.
Yes.
We have 6 hotels. When I joined, there were 5. We just opened the 6th one. We've got another 5 in the pipeline. And we also started building all the important elements for the destination. So the marina where we're at, we're now expanding it with a new marina to go 260 yachts. It's an inland marina that connects to the existing boutique marina. And then we're developing an area called the Village. We opened 2 schools. We did a partnership with Egypt Education Platform and we brought GEMS
That's
to
a
the
great
region,
school,
which at the time seemed odd. Yeah, people thought, what's a GEM school going to do in the Safega area? Yani? And it's worked. We were surprised by the demand. People have moved from other destinations in the region just because they want a good education.
Yeah, it's a great name. Very
It
smart.
is. Now it's kicking in and we're seeing more restaurants open, more shops, more things to do. We're working on a hospital. So all the different amenities of life are kicking in as the population builds up. We've delivered 1,000 homes today, which is a key milestone that I had set myself and the team. Because once you hit 1,000 operating homes, that's when economics of a destination works and it becomes sustainable.
Yes. When will you feel that your vision is complete? Or is it an ever evolving?
It's ever evolving. My initial target was to develop something that would outlast me and the team, and it's sustainable and people cannot tinker with it and take
Yeah.
it away in a different direction,
Yeah.
which has happened with other projects that were great in the beginning and have faltered. I think I've reached that point. I think we've crossed the point of no return. But now it's about the greater Soma vision, which is something the team had, not just us. We see ourselves as we're in the center of a new city, a new greater Soma, and other developers are coming in, and we've seen it already with the likes of Trafco, Almaza Bay developers, and more recently Amar with Marasi, Red Sea, and we're gonna see more and more developers come in the region, and they're all gonna develop effectively around Soma Bay. So we're gonna be the heart of this new region in Egypt.
Yes, which I think is a testament to how you've put Soma on the map, that it's made it so attractive now for other developers to come and invest big amounts to build around you. I mean, it's a great thing for Soma Bay.
It's fantastic. Recently, with the whole Amar entry into the market, the whole market here has gone up.
Yes.
It's extremely positive, and that's what you need. You cannot build a city or a town on your own. You need others.
Yeah.
Different people come with different attributes and different strengths. All these new developers that are coming in, I think they're adding more and more to the destination, and this whole region now is gonna turn into something with the islands around it. We are now studying our role in that bigger pie, how we grow. We are talking to all the authorities about how we develop the destination and even the new developers in a sustainable way that takes care of this very fragile environment we're in. This is not a typical area like in Sahel. You've got those plots of land on a straight coastline. This is very terrain, very unique in Egypt. It's a one-of-a-kind opportunity to develop in that way.
Yeah,
so you have to really take care of it.
You have much more marine life also, and corals all around you, I'm sure.
It's not just the corals. This whole area in the bay, there's a big turtle house.
Oh, wow.
And the turtle nesting happens between November and April, and even we've been for years now managing our construction around it, just not to disturb the whole nesting process. There are osprey, eagles, dolphins, all sorts of different kinds of marine and non-marine life in the area. On the islands, there are nests for a lot of the ospreys, and we've gone to the authorities and showed them this is evidence of these life forms there and how we should protect it, because that's why people are going to visit.
Yeah.
And so we're very, very careful with that. Even training our contractors to build differently.
Being here in Soma Bay and seeing how it developed into this multi-dimensional destination, and I'm sure that was part of your vision, especially yesterday I drove around and saw this huge sports center. I feel this is all part of the transformation. Tell us a little bit about that particular strategy of bringing in these very attractive things that add to the city to make it more than just a resort town.
Sports has been a tricky one. I've always noticed that in Egypt, there is always a challenge when there are sports camps. They're always done in hotel resorts across Egypt that don't have the proper facilities. If you're a swimmer, you have to swim in a hotel pool, not a proper Olympic or semi-Olympic pool. If you're playing football, football pitches are not the right size. Tennis, the courts are not done properly. The first thing I decided to tackle was like I bumped into the head of FINA, the International Federation for Swimming, which is now called World Aquatics. I was talking to the gentleman, he was in Soma Bay, and he told me, you've got a great place. They were getting into open water swimming, and they saw this bay as a good venue. And he told me, I'll get Egypt the proper world championships if you actually build me proper swimming facilities. I told him, well, the problem we have is most of the athletes, they train in the Gulf, likes of Qatar and the UAE, etc. He was like, well, that's a certain level of athlete, but the rest of the world, they don't want to pay those prices. But in Egypt, the facilities are not there, except in the likes of Cairo, which is very difficult for athletes to live and commute. But in a destination that's controlled, that would be a great idea. He told me, would you be able to do it? I told him, let's shake hands and I'll do it. We went on and we found this German company called One Flow Aquatics, where they decided they were going to run the pool and they could bring the European national teams to train, especially in winter, because Europe is cold. We were able to sign with them and we built the facility. And then I called up through our partners, a company called Mindset. We called up World Aquatics and with the local swimming federation and the Ministry of Sports, and we were able to sign up for the championships. And suddenly they were like, well, we have a bit of a problem. The hotels are not designed for athletes, because for athletes, they need specific room sizes. They also have a specific budget to train. You need to build to that. You cannot just get them and you take them into a touristic resort, which has fluctuating rates depending on demand. It has to be a fixed scheme. So that's how our sixth hotel, the Cactus, came into being.
Oh, really?
It
So
was
it's designed for these athletes.
exactly. So it's custom designed for them. And we were surprised. We opened, it was a bit of a gamble, but in the first few months, we had got 29 national teams
Wow.
training. We're booked for the next year. The demand was huge. Actually, it came at a point, even though there was all the troubles in the region with Gaza and tourism was a bit wobbly, the amount of room nights we were selling to sports personnel and athletes was much higher than the tourists.
Wow.
We were
Okay.
making more money, we were getting higher
So it's a more
occupancy.
resilient
Very resilient because they don't care.
market. Okay.
Yeah, they,
Yeah.
and so then we got approached by Mohammed Safwat, who's the national champion of Egypt in tennis. And he said, I want to do a tennis academy and I'll get you signed with ITF and we'll get the ATP tour and into Egypt if you build the facility. So we were like, let's do it. So we did it. We just signed the football. We're now signing squash. And the business has grown and grown. And now they want us to build another sports hotel because the current one is full. It's an amazing business.
Yeah.
That we stumbled on, and it is a bit of build it and they will come, but it actually worked. It's profitable and it's fantastic. And it also fills the gap. People always see the business in Egypt as high season in winter, low season.
Yes,
It's
so
not true.
Yeah. The illusion is that.
Exactly, it's not true. It's actually a very funny curve. Like for example, early December is low season, but then Christmas, New Year, high season. And then the first week of Jan, it crashes
Back to low season.
back to low season. And then it goes up second half of Jan. And then Feb it goes down and then it goes up again. So it really fluctuates.
Yeah.
And summer now is not very low actually because for families, even European families, they will come in summer. The people who come to Egypt for the winter sun were always the older Europeans. You're not going to bring families in winter, right?
Yeah.
And so we found that there is that opportunity to fill all those gaps. And that business just was one of those things that actually worked. And we're building more and more and more. And long may it last.
So how do you see these pillars, like the whole new sports wave, being part of the greater vision now? There are other pillars to come?
The destination was originally built around sports. It was built around golf and water sports.
That's true.
Golf is the pillar of Somabay. Somabay, regardless of what anybody says, is the #1 golf course in Egypt. This year we got ranked, I think we're the only golf course. There are many rankings that are done from magazines, but really the top 100 golf courses in the world, we're there finally this year.
Amazing.
And we represent Egypt in that ranking. And we built our second and now our third golf course. We focused on water sports for a while. We brought horseback riding
Amazing.
into it, and we're going to be hosting the Egypt Cup very soon. Like we've had the spa before, now we're also trying to focus on building the wellness. Wellness is a key pillar that we will grow
And
bit by
apparently
bit.
it's the fastest growing sector of tourism now, wellness tourism.
Yeah.
So you're on the right track.
It's a tricky one. It's not as straightforward as people think it is because a lot of these developers who do wellness, these models are not sustainable, they're not profitable. At the end, we're a business.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do is how do you make it profitable? How do you get the Shaws of the world, Buchingers, or all these brands, be it in healthy eating or healthy lifestyle or wellness or treatments, and bring them and create a model that works. When we built the spa before my time, Egypt had a very strong Northern European clientele base that were flying in. So the Cascade Spa was done with Terre Marin and it used Saint Malo product. That business evaporated. You don't get the flights, you don't get the traffic that fills that. So it's very tricky that you develop a business and then you don't have the ability to achieve that connectivity to ensure the flow through. Now it's starting to settle. We're talking to a lot of operators and trying to see which one would actually work, be sustainable, and can actually turn out a profit at the end of the day.
What do you feel is that missing link to make these projects sustainable and profitable?
Generally, the Egyptian market, unfortunately, is unstable due to two things. Geopolitics, even though we are very far away from any troubles and throughout time that's been proven, but people look to us through a very small keyhole, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so when anything happens, suddenly Egypt is impacted. So that's one. The other, our connectivity is very bad in terms of flights. It is very difficult to get to the Red Sea. So we depend on a charter business, which is governed by insurance. So whenever a warning is placed on the region, automatically insurance policies go up, and hence it does not become economical for planes to fly. So we don't have the sustainability of scheduled carriers that can bring business. So we become a normal tourist destination where people go on their phones and just book a flight and then book a hotel and then book an experience, be
Yeah.
it wellness. It's not that easy. The only way you can do that to get to the Red Sea is via Cairo, which is totally inconvenient. Egypt Air does not use Hurghada Airport as a hub. We need this mindset to change to bring the Red Sea as a new destination with a hub. And once you establish a hub, then the business will go.
So hopefully all these new developments will also encourage the airport to expand and to become more of a hub the more traffic there is coming to this region.
Yes, definitely.
Let's talk about the challenges in making this transformation happen. As we know in Egypt, building something at this scale through everything that, as you said, it's such a region that gets rocked so easily by everything happening next door. What were the biggest challenges you faced in now the over 10 years you've been with Somabay?
Definitely, the most recent was COVID. To shut down a destination was a shocker. I learned so much, but it's such a big responsibility. I have 4,000 employees. You shut down and not knowing when you're going to open again. People were losing their livelihoods. We saw people could not afford to buy medicine. People didn't talk about what was happening in COVID in these far out towns and villages. I remember second half of March and I got my team and we sat and I said, this is the end.
Oh my God.
We could run out of money. It's going to be over. So do we start cutting out people and keeping a core team, or do we all cut our income so we can extend so we did scenarios if how can we survive for 3 months, how can we survive for 6, 9, 12. But then moment of magic happened where people said no, we are just going to work, and we created a bubble and people started coming into Somabay and they'd go through this 15 days of isolation, and we started thinking of what do we do to get people to buy product. We stumbled on this insane idea which suddenly started the sales market for us, and our sales tripled in COVID.
Wow.
Went totally opposite the market. It was because everybody stuck together, they worked very hard. But I remember days where everybody was lost. This was tough. I found when we were instructed by the government to shut down the hotels that there were people, Europeans, Italians, Germans, who didn't have a home to go back to in Europe.
Oh my God.
These people, they live in the hotels all year round.
Oh.
There are a few people who actually live in the hotels and they get their pension and they live here. So you're telling them, go back home. The guy's like, where? Odd things. Suddenly you discover that way destinations are designed is that create water through desalination, and then you use it, and then you get wastewater, which you treat, and you also use that for irrigation and whatnot.
Yeah.
So there is no wastewater. People are not taking showers, not flushing toilets, and suddenly there's a shortage of water to keep the plants alive.
Oh my
So
God.
you had a decision of, do we kill the destination? These were very heavy moments. But I'll tell you, one of the times which people also don't talk about was 2016. 2016 was probably worse in its beginning than COVID. COVID, the closure lasted in Egypt, wasn't like Europe. We only stayed
had a
for
few
3-4 months.
Yeah.
2016, Egypt shut down for a year, tourism, when the Russian plane crashed in Sharm. And that was really bad. And so these two hits, they really damaged tourism industry in Egypt. There are estimates between 1 to 2 million people left the industry and never came back.
Wow.
Because they had to seek other avenues for employment and to make a living. And that's why when things started to get going again, it became very difficult, because how do you train the calibers? So I've seen a lot of challenging times, but these were tough.
Yeah, these were
Because
very
it's
tough.
about humans and their livelihoods, their families. It sounds dramatic, but it is the truth.
Yeah.
That's really what happened.
For people who are not as experienced in the region, what differentiates Somabay from everything else around it?
I genuinely believe this is the best plot of land in Egypt. Hands down. This is about the God-given gift, right?
Yeah.
We've got this beautiful peninsula, incredible. Look at that bay. This is surreal.
Stunning.
It's the only sunset on mainland Egypt. Egypt looks east. This is the only place where you can look west, other than Sinai, right?
Oh, wow.
So it's very, very unique. And the fact that Somabay hadn't started in the early 90s, this would have never happened, because they gave the development license to Somabay before they established the Ministry of Environment, which converted all the peninsulas into national parks. So we got lucky. So we are very conscious that we're developing in a national park. You're living in a national park.
That's so cool. I don't think people realize that when they come here.
No,
Yeah.
it is very, very unique.
Well, given everything that you've achieved, is there like one thing that's your like dream to bring to Somabay that still hasn't happened?
I have a certain vision for the development of the islands in the region. I think there are attempts to develop islands and the mountains around them. We don't have a model of development that works in Egypt, but when you look at our skyline, that dramatic skyline, I'm surprised we don't have towns and villages all scattered along. The government has done the attempt of Galela, and I really hope it works, but that's really forced. I think it's about how do things naturally evolve. We don't have that ability. And it's like weird. Why do we not live in the mountains in Egypt?
Yeah.
We have so many mountains,
Yeah.
but it's not part of our psyche.
It's
we
true.
were born as Egyptians to live in the valley, right? So
It's
we're all
true.
stuck in the valley. But anywhere you go, usually people live on the mountains.
Yeah, they have these beautiful homes with views.
And
Yeah.
we've got more mountains than most countries, by the way.
Yeah.
And there are places where the mountains and the sea merge, like between Dahab and Nueva, or the area which is called Jabal al-Zayt, north of Guna. This is an insanely beautiful part of Egypt. That's a nice challenge. Egypt really has a collection of islands. We have the laws in Egypt do not allow you to develop the way you need to in order to bring about the economic setup without the environmental impact. This model, someone needs to fix it. And there are attempts. We are talking to the authorities. And I think if that gets fixed, because the islands, there are two sets of islands. There's the islands which are north of Hurghada, so north of Guna, that area, and there are the islands that are around here. The islands there are actually far out. The islands here are very interesting. They're
They
very
feel
close.
very close.
So technically, you can connect them.
Oh, wow.
I mean, infrastructure. And that's clean and safe, and you can
Yeah.
have power and water and wastewater and
Yeah.
without having environmental impact. And you can have mobility in the region very, very easy. It's safe. This part of Egypt is easier to develop the islands than anywhere else.
Okay, wow. Well,
So I'd love to do that.
Yeah, that would be cool. If it happens,
And then
we set it
seaplanes.
here. The next part is the Enigma questionnaire,
Okay.
where we ask questions that you just give very short answers to.
Okay.
The first one, name 5 words that best describe you.
Competitive, excitable, very stubborn and persistent, and laid back.
Okay,
So these are 5.
those are good ones. What quality do you admire most in people?
Being genuine. I like people when they remove the mask. I think if more people remove the masks, that's a better quality.
On the other side, what quality do you dislike most?
Lying.
Yeah.
It sounds very basic, but people lie.
Yeah.
And it's shocking. They lie in your face and you know it's a lie. Drives me nuts.
If there was a book written about your life, what would the title be?
I started out as someone who was very interested in marine life, conservation, engineering, and then I decided to do development with conservation.
Yeah.
So sustainable development, but not environmentally sustainable. I think economically sustainable development. I'm a placemaker.
Okay, that's really cool. And if your book was adapted into a film, who would you like to play your role?
I admire a lot of very good-looking actors, but I'm not.
It's a movie. You do what you want.
George Clooney, yeah.
Okay, that's cool. What is the best advice you ever received?
My mentor, he told me, when you make a decision or you decide to do something, if you can live with the fact that the next day it's headline news and the whole world knows about it and you're fine, then do it. If not, then don't do it. Then it might be wrong. So that's a good one. He enabled my career. This guy, I bumped into him in 2001 and I was trying to go and work abroad and he met me and he made it happen in 72 hours. And he took me to the UK and I worked with him. One day, just before I left, I stopped working with him. What can I do? How can I repay you? So he told me, pay it forward. So whenever you see someone with potential, like when I met you, we met casually in an office and he felt I saw a fire in you. And so I took you abroad and trained you and you became who you are. So whenever you meet someone like that, do it. Help. That's the payback.
I love that. Okay, next question. What makes you laugh?
Silly movies. No, sometimes I definitely like a lot of the old masrahiyat, Egyptian, Imam Saeed Saleh kind of humor that I laugh out loud.
What are you most passionate about?
Very passionate about my work.
That shows.
I'm very passionate about that, to my own detriment.
You work in this beautiful destination, so
I work with passion. I've always done that, not just here, even
wherever
when
you
I
are.
was just an engineer. I was always, and it causes me a lot of problems usually, but I
Yeah,
think it pays off at
I
the
think
end.
it pays off. Yeah. What book or film has changed your life?
Well, there was one which is Who Moved My Cheese. It was a very simple read, a very popular management book, working with people you can't stand.
Yeah.
That's a very good one.
What was the advice on that?
And it talks about all the different kinds of people you can't stand and
Really?
how to deal with them. It's a
Wow.
fantastic book.
Okay.
Movie that impacted me. Actually, I love Suits.
Really?
It changed my perspective. Harvey Specter, my God, I love the way he does business.
So he's influenced you.
He has.
That's amazing.
In a moment where I was a bit wobbly, had challenges and I didn't know what to do. And at the time I was really binging on Suits. So, and I thought, just go for it. So I said, okay, give it some Harvey Specter attitude.
Yeah.
It worked.
It worked. Amazing. Okay. It's amazing how these shows could actually influence your life without you realizing it,
Yeah.
subconsciously. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what is your favorite destination? I know this is a tough one to answer for you.
That changes with time. My favorite destination for a big part of my life was Sinai.
Really?
I used to go once every month after I graduated, and even when I was in uni, and go and camp in the Nuweiba area, Basata.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
was sort of my lifestyle at the time in the 90s. And actually, when I had my daughter, my wife told me, let's call her Sina, because she knew I loved Sinai so
Really?
much.
That's so cute. Do you have a favorite international destination?
Yeah, I love London. Yeah,
London
I've
is
lived, worked there for 10, 15 years. And as they say, if you're bored of London, you're bored of life.
Yes.
It's an incredible town, and it's like my second home, and I love it.
And last question, a word of advice for anybody who sees what you've done. They want to learn from you or follow in your footsteps. What would be your word of advice for somebody who's starting their career and wants to achieve something similar to what you've done?
I meet a lot of people with that fire, and usually they're restless, and I understand, and I tell them it's good. But it takes time, it takes persistence. Don't be bored. It's not going to be easy. Everything you expect is not going to happen. You need to bring down your expectations. Timeline, I thought I was going to achieve everything in the first 5 years of my career. It's taken 35. So you need to just accept the reality of life. You look at the destination, but it's a journey, and enjoy the journey. And that's what I actually think I missed out on a lot throughout my life. I was too focused on the target. I missed the journey. So
Yeah.
now I try to enjoy the journey a bit. Have the passion, but calm down. Yeah.
Yeah, which is great. Ibrahim, thank you so much. This
Thanks,
was such a
Yasmine.
great interview. We learned
Thank you.
so much, and we're so excited to see what you're going to do next.
Thank you, Yasmine. It's been a pleasure, and it's so good to reconnect.